Let's kick it!
Hi y'all, this is Lauri Mackey with Lauri's Lemonade Stand, and I am kicking it with Doree.
Welcome to the Kicking It with Doree podcast. I am your host, Doree Allen Nieves. Lauri Mackey is the proprietor of Lauri's Lemonade Stand, which is a positivity podcast for women, where she interviews amazing guests who share their stories and expertise to empower mature women into the next chapter of their lives. Lauri's unique life experiences through teenage pregnancy, failed marriages, excommunication, and graduating high school after the age of 40 have provided turnaround moments that have brought her the greatest happiness. Through public speaking and working on her first book about her excommunication and restoration of blessings, she is out to boldly serve other women into their happy middle. Lauri also enjoys racing mountain bikes and lives in Camarillo with her amazing husband and 2 puppies. Now I'd like to welcome to the show Ms. Lauri Mackey. Welcome to the show, Lauri.
Oh, thanks, Doree. You're so sweet. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here, straight from the lemonade stand. She's ready to go. I mean, who doesn't love lemonade? I mean, it's just like when you even say that or think of that, you just think of cheerfulness and positivity and, children playing and, beautiful summer-like weather and good vibes.
Lots of sugar.
well, yeah, that too, but it's sweet.
Yep, that sugar makes it sweet. I think that's the whole point, is that Lauri's Lemonade Stand, the premise is that it comes from everybody's going through some kind of sucking lemons moment that they need to find whatever those ingredients are to make them into sweet lemonade. And so that's what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely. And I know that you are a champion of that lemonade vibe of positivity and encouraging women, especially women in midlife. And, I remember when I was maybe, 35 or 36, I was filling out some kind of survey somewhere, and I had to check a different box. I had to tick a new box for the age category. And I was like, what? Like, I have to press a new box now. I have to check off the older box. And I'm like, okay. And not that 35 is old, but it's just like those little subtle realizations that society gives you,
It's like being on those websites where you have to put in your birthday and you end up scrolling down farther and farther to find your birth year.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand why people, this is just a side note, I don't understand why companies, why they make those years and they start them off with something like 1900 or something like either 1900 or they started off at like whatever year it is right now. They'll start it with 2017. And it's like, well, obviously I wasn't born this year, but I also wasn't born 117 years ago either using this app. So I don't know what that's about. But anyway, it's not all about age. I think that, the age, the way that we're referring to it and the way that society refers to it is really just a number. Your youthfulness or your happiness really has nothing to do with how long you've lived or how long you've been alive. It has more to do with the life that you've had in your years, not the number of years you have in your life. So, Lauri, I'm glad that you're here and that you're able to share this message with us, especially that you have for women that, life is not over when you hit a certain milestone.
Exactly. So the whole point is that, well, there's several different here. When women are getting to over 40, they're in one of 2 categories. Either one, they are kind of getting to the end of their child rearing years. Some of them have just started. There are a lot of girls, boy, they're starting at the end, their late 30s. There are several that I know that started at 40. But I would say, generally speaking, they're getting up to that point where their kids are teenagers or they're in college or all of these things, and they're not sure what to do outside of being a mother or a housewife. They're just not sure. And then you have another category where maybe they're single and they never had kids, maybe wanted to, or they chose career, and they're getting over 40 and they're going, well, what have I done? What have I accomplished in my life? I don't know what I'm going to do next. What is the next chapter? And that's what I talk about in my speaking events, is all about finding that happy middle. Now, the podcast, Lauri's Lemonade Stand, a positivity podcast for women, it is geared towards women over 40. And so that is just a virtual melting pot of information. It's interview based. I interview people who can help you into your next chapter. And that spreads the gamut of licensed marriage and family therapists, nutritionists, people who have done things over 40, like Rebecca Rush, who became a 7-time world champion mountain biker around age 40. There's just people are doing crazy, incredible things after age 40. So I hope to dispel any negativity in getting into the next chapter of our lives. And one of those things, again, that I was speaking about is finding your happy middle. And that's taking the beginnings, whatever was yesterday. We can't touch our yesterdays. They're done. They're gone. 5 minutes ago, that's done. Whatever decisions you made 5 minutes ago, that's over. You can't go back. It is now a learning tool. That's all it is. It's just a learning tool to figure out your happy middle. Because I don't believe in happy endings, because I believe we're just going to live forever. Maybe not in this body.
Mm-hmm.
My soul is going to live forever. So I just don't believe that there's a happy ending, and I can't touch it tomorrow. So if I can't touch it yesterday, and those are my learning tools, and I can't touch tomorrow, then that means there's no ending. So that means I'm here, I'm now. That's my happy middle. What am I going to do now? What am I going to do right now this second? I'm going to be on Doree's podcast.
Yes, and it's the greatest place to be, I must say. I love talking to people like you, because when's the last time you heard someone say, I don't believe in happy endings. I want you to live your life right now. I don't want you to wait until. There's so many untils that we have. Oh, when my kids are grown, I'll do this. Or, oh, once I go back to school, I'm going to wait to go back to school until this. Or, oh, there's always some far out, undefined, no deadline, just a someday. And that is not going to help you if you really want to set that goal, or if you really want to accomplish something, whether it's an achievement, academic, or business oriented thing, or if it's just something like, I want to retire and travel every continent 20 times. I mean, whatever it is, you should be able to have that idea that you're going to do it, and not necessarily someday or wait until, and that until is never defined.
Well, and that's the thing. I want people to have goals. I want you to set goals. And obviously goals are something that are futuristic. However, it's what you're doing today that is going to make that goal a reality. Let's just take an example. For instance, if your big, huge bucket list goal is to go to France, but you don't have the means right now to get your butt to France, then what are you doing today to kind of live that dream? And so, number one, you're probably saving your pennies. So you're putting a little bit aside, whatever's left over. You had a $75 grocery budget. You spent $72.50. That $250 is going into your France dream. But you don't want to just have this be on a shelf. You're not putting your $250 on a shelf and kind of forgetting about it and just adding pennies when you can. What's something you can do today that would make you feel like you're in France? Like, listen to some French music. Go buy a croissant. You put it on a doily, and whatever it is that go see a museum that has French art. Whatever that is, watch a French movie. I'm sure there's plenty of chick flicks that are based in France. So do something that makes you feel alive and happy about where you're going to go to your bucket list. Maybe you can't get to France right now, but do something in this little happy middle, in this today, that reminds you about how awesome that goal is that you've set for yourself.
I like that. And I think what you're speaking of in a nutshell is being intentional. You're intentionally surrounding yourself with those things that will encourage or motivate you to, continue to pursue that goal. And so you could apply this to just about anything that you wish to do, and start, doing things now to move toward that. And
I'm learning. Everybody's learning. I'm going to be a student for life. But one of the things that has made mainstream media recently is about manifesting. And so manifesting is just you taking that bucket list or whatever and doing something about it, making it intentional, as you were saying. However, I know that manifesting sounds woo-woo to a lot of people. It sounds like that to a lot of people. However, in my experience, when I have done that, when I've thrown out a dream to the universe and said, I want to buy a house, and this is true, this happened for me, it's a true story. I want to buy a house. There's no way I could buy a house. There was no way. I didn't have the funds. I was renting a house. And there was just no way. In fact, I even went and hired a realtor, started looking at houses, and my husband just wasn't having any of it. He's like, we can't afford a house. This is crazy. But I threw it out there. I just kept my dream out there. I want to own a house. I want to own a house. I had no idea how that was going to happen. Next thing you know, I've adopted a dog. I can't have a dog in the place that I'm renting. So I tell the landlord, hey, can I just, put a pet deposit down and stay here? And the landlord freaks out and is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have a dog. So we give notice, the landlords freak out and say, oh, I was just kidding. Yes, we'll take a pet deposit because they didn't want to lose their renter. In the meantime, we started looking and we had a friend who said, just go see this realtor friend of mine and just go look. And we started looking, couldn't find anything. And all of a sudden, one came up in our price range that we could afford. Gorgeous house. I mean, not huge, but ours, that we could have a house. And so a year and a half after I had thrown this dream out into the universe, we were living in our own house. And so I'm just saying that if you have a dream and you have something that you want to do, whether that's a bucket list or to be a motivational speaker or to get that dream job, whatever it is that you want, if I were to ask you right now, what's the biggest thing you want right now, something's instantly going to come to your mind. Everybody has it. Throw it out there. I'm just saying throw it out there. Test it. Prove me wrong, because it happens.
Absolutely. I want to now talk about the essence of the happy middle. And I know that you can use that term in more ways than one. Some people may have heard you say that the first time and they just thought about a happy medium, like let me compromise. Some people may have heard that phrase and said, oh, she speaks to women over 40. Maybe she's talking about midlife. Where are you actually focused when you talk about the happy middle? Give us a little context around that.
Okay, so the happy middle is actually twofold. One, it's happy middle because my demographic they're women over 40. So I'm trying to embrace that happy middle. Like, we've had 40 years at least, generally, that we've had this life. And whether you chose to use that life for good or evil, whether you made good choices or you made bad choices, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter now. I've done plenty of stupid things over the course of my 40 years. But that's still 40 years I've got under my belt to move on to this happy middle where I get to still be physically active on a way that I get to decide. I get to be mentally active in the way that I decide. I get to be happy. I mean, happy is a big part of happy middle. Like, I'm not just talking about, hey, live your life, be active, whatever, after age 40. I'm talking about being happy, finding your happy. So that's one aspect. It's just like, okay, we've already got 40 years under our belt. This is our happy middle. What are we going to do with our happy middle? What are the possibilities in the happy middle? And then the other side of that, of course, is what I was talking about earlier on the happy middle being today, right now, that you cannot touch yesterday, that you cannot touch tomorrow, and using that 40 years that are under our belt to make the decisions that we are making for today, period, whatever that is. And I'm not saying we aren't going to have a bad day, you guys. Like, this is obviously, you're going to have piss poor days. There are times when your teenager is going to drive you crazy. My friend is 40 years old and she has a 4-year-old right now. And so her happy middle is going to be all about taking care of her 4-year-old, into into the next 20 years. I mean, that's going to be her life. But what are you doing? For me, I'm at the end of child rearing. I have a 28-year-old who has 2 kids that I adore and FaceTime every day. And I have a daughter who's 26, and then I have one left at home who just turned 17 a few days ago from the time of this interview. And so what have I done after age 40 that I'm so proud of? I have a list, and it all started when, so I was the one that when you talk about those choices of being good or evil, I was definitely on the evil side during teenager years. And so I was pregnant at 16, had my first baby at 17. And due to that, and a very, very small community, tiny, tiny little community, my graduating class was just over 40 people. And it was just frowned upon and pretty much just got ousted out of school. Like, we don't want you here. You're going to be an embarrassment to your siblings, which is unheard of now. Like, if somebody tried to pull that now, they'd be raising holy heck and take you to court. But that's not what happened. So I had finished my sophomore year of high school and then took my GED almost immediately, had a GED my whole life, but I always felt like I really wanted my diploma. So I went back to school and I graduated after age 40. So class of 2012, rocking it right here, and I rocked the whole thing. I didn't care that I was over 40. I didn't care that the adult school that I went to was mostly Hispanic teenagers or Hispanic young adults. I'm white. If you can't see me, I'm just like, I'm as white as I can be. I am white and I have freckles and I'm white. And I still got a class ring. I took graduation photos. I wore my cap and gown. I invited all my family and friends. I spoke at my graduation, and I kid you not, there was a mariachi band outside when I went out. I mean, and they were dressed to the nines. They were awesome. Once I finished that, though, and it was hard, so don't get me wrong. If you are a teenager now and somehow are listening to Doree's podcast right now, like, keep your butt in school. Just keep your butt in school. It's way easier to do it as a teenager. As an adult, it's tough, and it took years, several years, kind of off and on being wishy-washy about it, and then finally committing to doing whatever it was going to take to get my diploma. Getting to the end of that, interviewing with the counselor, realizing they had totally messed up my credits, and I needed a whole new class, like 2 weeks before graduation. I mean, it was just anything that could have gotten in the way got in the way. But once I did that, once I accomplished and got my diploma and I graduated, I felt like Wonder Woman. I felt like I could do anything. If I wanted to go to university, if I wanted to own a business, if I, whatever I wanted to do, whatever it was, that I could do it because I did that thing that was really hard. And so my recommendation is, don't sell yourself short because you're over 40. I've raced mountain bikes since turning 40 and have been on the podium, no less. And that's not bragging rights. That's just showing you what can be done after 40. Graduating high school, racing mountain bikes, coaching mountain biking, went on to be a certified health coach and taking classes in plant-based nutrition. I mean, this is all over 40, and I'm not that old, you guys. Like, I just barely turned 46 at the time of this interview. And so I'm just saying the happy middle can be happy, and the sky's the limit.
Very well said. And I appreciate you sharing that story because it puts things in a little bit more perspective, because a lot of people do feel like, if you haven't done something by this 40-ish time or 50-ish time, that, you can't do it because you're too old to start. And there's lots of people. You mentioned someone, that started their career and it was later in life. And there's people, that we watch in the movies that didn't start their careers until midlife. Everyone didn't start as a child actor or 22 years old, with beautiful, perfect skin and light eyes. Everyone starts their journey whenever it's meant for them to start it, I feel. And so that's really, really inspirational for you to share all of those accomplishments. That's probably just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, finishing high school, getting certified and coaching other people and, the mountain bike thing, like, I'm not even trying to do that. Like, you're definitely in shape and, you know what I mean? It's just, I've seen people that are, in their 70s running circles around people. I took up running a few years ago in my late 30s and kind of fallen off the wagon a bit. But what I notice is in doing races probably every other month, the diversity in the running community is like ridiculous, not just ethnicity wise, but also age wise. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm getting old, so that means, I can't see as good and it's hard for me to get up these stairs. Well, no, not necessarily. There's lots of fit people of all ages that literally can run circles around you doing things if you don't keep yourself up. And I am embarrassed to say that I've been beaten by, women in their 50s. It's not because I'm like a whack runner. It's just because they're more well conditioned and they go for it. So I think that there's an undercurrent here that not only are you not too old to do something, but also that you have to have the right mindset. You cannot have that attitude that says, I can't because.
Right. If you start your sentence with I can't because, you're already done. You're already done. You've already stopped yourself. You've already put up the stop sign right in front of you. You've hit the brick wall and you are done. So your sentences need to start with I can, or be like the little choo-choo train or whatever. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And you just make it up that hill. I literally, on my bike wheels, on my mountain bike, my racing bike, I put stickers on there and they have a little turtle. She's really cute. She's orange and she's adorable and she has little lashes or whatever and she looks like she's zooming and we all know like the tortoise and the hare or whatever. But it says, I think I can, I think I can. It's mostly just to intimidate everyone who's next to me. Because they're like, wow, she must be slow. She's got turtles on her bike.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yes. And then you just blow them away. But I
try really hard.
Quickly back to the running thing. I also learned that not only are some of these ladies that are older than me much faster and in much better shape than I, but they also have a lot less competition. So when awards are given at the end of these races, they go by age category. Usually it's like a 10-year age category, like 50 to 59, 40 to 49, and so on. And there's a huge amount of competition in the 20s and the 30s gaps. But when you start getting into those 50s and 60s gaps, there is really not much competition in these races. And so, they're always winning.
I think it's so unfair. When you talk about running and you're talking about a 40-year-old versus a 49-year-old, I don't know. I just think that's unfair. But you got to work your butt off if you're the 49-year-old. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. But I tell you, it can be done. I mean, they put me on my game. And even those people that don't have legs, they're in those special wheelchairs where they're racing with their arms. And they are killing it. They are blowing past me. So no limits. The only limits are really in your mind.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And so let me add something to that. One of the things I teach is this 3-step method. And because I always ask people, are you waiting to get motivated? You hear people talk about this all the time. And they say, I didn't work out today because I'm just not motivated. Whatever it is. And I just tell people that motivation is step 2. Motivation is not step 1. You don't wait for motivation. Motivation is step 2. Step 1 is action. Step 1 is action. Step 2 is motivation. So then you take this action, whatever it is, you set out your running clothes the night before. You've set aside time tomorrow that you can go running. You've been off the wagon for a while, but you need to get out and go running, so you're going to walk 5 minutes, run 10 minutes, walk 5 minutes, and that's going to be it, because that's your action step. The action step does not have to be big. Take a baby step in action. But once you take that action, so let's say you set out your running clothes tonight, you go do this short little run tomorrow, all of a sudden, the motivation is there. That's where motivation comes in. And here's the key. Step 3. Step 3 is momentum. So what happens is you take this baby step. I don't care what it is. Whatever it is, it's going to be in your comfort zone. Pick this baby step, this action step. Do it, and it creates motivation to do more. And then momentum keeps it going. So you go action, motivation, action, motivation, action, motivation. And the key is just to keep you spinning on that hamster wheel that you get back on. You can take a break, but you need to get right back on. Action, motivation, keep that momentum going.
That's excellent. And I do believe that that's what happens, because when you start going into whatever action it is, whether it be exercise or something else, those endorphins kick in because you are feeling great. You're doing something that you enjoy. You're taking steps toward your goal, whatever it may be. And that does motivate you and give you that momentum. So yeah, you're right. Too many people rely on getting inspired or motivated before they do something. And then the next thing you know, another year has passed them by.
Let me add one more thing. and this is not in my 3 steps, and I haven't said it before, but it's coming to mind as I'm talking to you, so I feel like I should say it. And I just want to say that you should have some fun. You should have some fun, like whatever it is. So if it's running for you, then you sign up for the next Run or Die, DYE, and you go and get sprayed with color. You're out with your friends, and you're covered in powdered colors, rainbowish, by the time you get to the end. Like, pick something fun. This year, I wanted to read 10 books. I have the stack of 10 books. They're on my nightstand, and I love them. And as I was making this goal, I thought, how could I make this fun for me? And I remembered all the way back to 2nd grade how I won this bookworm contest. I don't even remember the name of my teacher. That's how bad this is. But I won the bookworm contest because you'd read those little golden books or whatever, and every time that you read a book and you came in and you turned it into the teacher, you got a little circle to add to your worm on the wall. And my worm covered like 3 walls in that classroom. And so I decided that for 2017, I was going to make a new one, and I named her. Her name is Miss Penelope Pickwick. I do a bookworm report every Tuesday, Facebook Live, and it shows all the books that I've been writing. And I read one of my 10 books, and then I read a fun one like Louis L'Amour. I love Louis L'Amour, and Soul Western or whatever. You can call me an old fogey for that, but I just happen to like him. But then, I pick a romance novelist or whatever. And not dirty novels. I'm a clean girl, that you know, but they're proper romances. But I've created this worm that made it fun, and so. So your small step, when I was creating my big goal of reading 10 books this year, and so there was an action and a motivation, right? So my motivation was creating Miss Penelope Pickwick and making her go around my studio here. How do I do that? What are my baby steps? I just commit to reading 10 pages a day. That's it. That was my action step. I read 10 pages a day. And I don't always make it. I'm not perfect. There might be a day where I'm on vacation or I just slept in or whatever. I don't always make it. But I've made this plan. I made an action step. And as I do it and I watch Miss Penelope Pickwick, my cute little bookworm, grow, that's my motivation to keep her growing. And that creates my momentum. So as of this interview, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 books up there, and I'm adding one more next week. 7 books. And some of them were pretty short, quick reads, but some of them weren't. Some of them were extensive self-care books or self-help books or whatever. But I'm making it on 10 pages a day. So it's just a good example of what you can do with something small.
Absolutely. Baby steps really means baby steps. And I also like when you said you don't have to be perfect.
Yes, you don't have to be perfect, because if your expectation is perfection, then you're already doomed. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. We are human. Nobody's perfect. Not you, not me, not anybody. Not in our body shape or size, whatever you deem would be perfect. Like, nobody has that perfect anything. Nobody has the perfect marriage. Nobody has their perfect relationship with their kids. And they may be close. Like, we're human. So allow yourself to be human.
Well, this has been really great, Lauri. I appreciate the positive vibes. You and I are watching each other, and I'm seeing you laugh and your expressions, and it's just been really wonderful to be able to talk with you about the happy middle and give people encouragement about life, even if they're in their 20s or 30s right now, that they don't have to dread getting older, that life is still just beginning. There's so many worries and frustrations that we have, when we're younger. I mean, we have fun, yes, but there's also a lot of things that kind of calm down just from life experience, just living, rearing children or working in the real world. And you start to really learn about yourself and really be able to be much more confident in your own skin. There's just so many great things about getting older. So I'm glad that you've been able to share this message with us. And I'd like for you to let everyone know how they can listen to your podcast and get in touch with you so they can follow you in this wonderful message that you have.
Oh, bless your heart. That's so awesome. Okay. The best thing, obviously, just on iTunes, Lauri's Lemonade Stand. It's really easy to find. Be sure and spell Lauri correctly. It's Lauri. There is no E. If you have a problem with that, you have to talk to my mother, so not my fault. But the biggest one, obviously, is a podcast, because that has so many moving parts, and there's just so much variety to choose from in picking one that you would like. I'm also on Facebook, Lauri's Lemonade Stand. My website is the same. And my blog is the same. It's Lauri's Lemonade Stand at blogspot.com. I'm also on Twitter, but it's just my name, Lauri Mackey. And I'm on Instagram. You can look me up, but it's Hugs and Hisses, KUGSNHISSES. And that is from a book that I absolutely adore. And so I had to put that on there. But I am just kind of venturing into the Instagram world, so be patient with me as I figure out Instagram. Facebook is definitely my heart and soul, so that's the best thing to do. And then if you want to keep in touch regularly on my email list, if you just go to the website and click on that, you'll get a free PDF called Eddie's 60 Days of Sunshine, and it's what I did to help someone I dearly love get out of a depression and funk that you can use to help someone else you love that might be going through a really sad period of time and just can't seem to get out of it. So those are the ways to reach me. I know that's a lot. I hope everybody had a pen and paper because that was a lot of it.
No worries. My website, DoreeAllen.com, where this podcast is also being played, will have the show notes, and it will link to all of the social media that Lauri has mentioned. Again, that's Lauri without the E at the end. And if you don't want to wait for her on Instagram, you can use the other stuff. But if maybe you came to this show by seeing a post somewhere, and so you can click on the tag for her website and her name and her information. And so thank you again, Lauri, so much. It's been a real joy talking with you. And I hope that you'll come back and do it again, because I know there's just so many ways that we can come at this. And it's been such a short time.
Oh, you're so awesome. This has been great, and it was very nice to meet you, and thank you. I'm honored to have been on.
Send your questions and comments about this show to kickinit@DoreeAllen.com. That's KICKINIT. There's no G. At DoreeAllen.com. Or you can use Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to get to me at Doree Allen.